Hey guys, my name's Reuben, and I'm just going to share a bit of a story of what Christ did in my life 5 years ago. But before I tell you that, I'll tell you what happened last night. I had a Thanksgiving party, and so it's a week early, and you might ask why you're having a Thanksgiving party. You live in Australia. Well, I didn't just do it just so I could eat a heck of a lot of food and just feel sick and then go and eat more. I did it because that beautiful woman who gave her testimony is my wife, and so she's American, so we celebrated it. Yeah. So Thanksgiving, yes, thank you. So Thanksgiving, some brownie points. Ching. So Thanksgiving is about giving thanks, and the basic quick story of it, I learned my history lesson from Charlie Brown and the Snoopy Show about it. But 108 guys went from England, were sick of it, the oppression and that, went to England, Christian guys went to America, 108 of them. Half of them died. They weren't prepared for the weather there, the winter and things like that, and so they were in dire straits. And they were stuffed. They didn't know how to plant the crops, they didn't know how to get food, they didn't know how to fish, they didn't know what to do, and so they were in big trouble. And so these Navajo guys, not Navajos, but Indian dudes came, showed them how to plow the land and make food, and they survived, and that's how they got through it, and then they gave thanks at the next massive harvest that God brought for them. And so I tell you that to tell you this, that 5 years ago, I was very similar to what those dudes were in dire straits, because you might see me and say, oh, because I know I've just got so much to be thankful for, and you might look at me and say, well, you don't look so bad. And some of you might look at me and say, well, yeah, you do look pretty bad. But let me tell you this, I have so much to be thankful for, because I grew up in a good family, in a Christian family that actually went to church. And I went to church, and I grew up in it, and I wish I could say that I got saved when I was younger and gave my life to Christ, and I don't have to tell you the other things I did, but I didn't. I turned away from it. I sat in church, I thought, this is boring. I don't even believe in God. I became just this emo kid, super skin tight jeans, a big old fringe. He remembers. And so then I began just seeing like the party lifestyle and that, and I wanted that, and I thought, man, that's where I'm going to have fulfillment. And so for a little bit I did. For a little bit I had a little bit of fulfillment. I felt pretty good doing it, but sooner or later it wasn't enough, so I had to have more. So I began drinking like crazy, and you go from a 13-year-old kid who goes 14, bails on church, and he goes, nah, you can't force me to go, I'm just going to go do my own thing, to then 21, and I have done things that I said I would never do, things that are shameful, things that I just regretted, and they haunted me, and I had just multiple stories of just messing my life up royally. 4 totaled cars, going to court three times or something over just drink driving. I would just drink and get totally wasted and drive from Northridge back home because, I'm going to save $20 in a taxi. And that's just how ridiculous I was. And I didn't start like that. I started out with good intentions. I'm just going to have a few drinks. I'm just going to chat to a few girls. I'm just going to, I'll have a little bit of weed, maybe just a small bit. So then now I'm smoking meth, and I'm giving my life to this. And it left me filled with anxiety and fear. And at 21 years old, I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I didn't know where I was going to go. And the 14-year-old kid was gone, there was no more of that, and I didn't believe in God. And so I kept trying to fix myself. I kept trying to stop smoking cigarettes. To the point I went to the doctors, took these drugs called Champix to help me quit, gave me the weirdest dreams I've ever had and just messed with me, but I quit for 3 months, and then I started because I couldn't give up the drinking. And trying to stop smoking weed, and I had mushrooms, and I'd had them before, but it was all good. But this time I had mushrooms, I had a bad trip, and something snapped, man. And I became extremely filled with anxiety and fear. And I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I didn't know where I was going to go. I started just really freaking out. Things started to go downhill really fast. And so eventually, and I'd been to church, multiple times as a sinner, 16 years old, 18-year-old, even 20 when I was 20 years old, I went to church. But someone asked me to come to church, and I was just kind of like, whatever, I'll go. They actually kind of tricked me into it. Said, why don't you come to dinner? And I said, how do I get there? And they said, why don't you come to church and you can follow us from there? And I was like, all right, okay. And it was a Sunday afternoon. I was already feeling still hungover from the night before and just spaced out. So anyways, I was driving down the road here, coming to church, and I just said, in any sinner fashion, any way I could, I just kind of said, God, if you're real, if you show me somehow, you can have my life, because I don't know where it's going. I don't know what I'm doing with it. And you know what? God came through. God actually answered my prayer. And he said, he showed me that Jesus Christ was his son. And his son came, and for all the things that I'd done, all those shameful, regretful things, the horrible things I'd done to people, all of the sin that I gave my life to, that I threw up, the silver platter that he gave me of a life in church, I threw it out and was eating my own vomit. He came and he died for me, and he died for every one of us, and he actually, the Son of God, pure and holy, became sin, filthy, dirty, and God had to turn away from him. And he did that for me, he did that for us. And Jesus Christ, I realized that, and God showed me that, and God opened my eyes and helped me to understand that. And I repented of my sin. I said, you know what, I've got to change. I've lifted up my hand, I repented, prayed a sinner's prayer, nothing super crazy, didn't feel anything super crazy. You know, I was saved, and then 3 days later, I was worried about it, and I thought, maybe I won't go to church. But man, when you're feeling like that, you've got to go to church. And I went to church, and I opened up the door, and God came inside of my heart like not even words could explain it, and just gave me incredible peace and joy and excitement. I wasn't worried about my life anymore, man, because I had a future. Because he says he's got a future and a hope for me. There's a plan for me. Someone who threw out all of that, he did that for me. And he did it for every single one of us. And I have two things to say. I want to say to anyone who is just growing up in church and you kind of think, this is boring, this isn't real, I'm not really, I'm just going to sit back here. Don't be stupid, man. Don't waste so many years of your life like I did, when I could have been so far ahead of what I am right now, and I could be blessed, and I am blessed, and God has blessed my life. But don't think that it's not worth it. And if you don't know Jesus Christ, man, if you don't know him as your Lord and Savior, what are you waiting for? Jesus Christ loves you, died on a cross for you, and God can turn any of your circumstances around. He can set you free from any drug, any addiction, anything. He can break the power of it, because he rose from the dead, and he has the resurrection power for you. You've got to repent of your sin, turn away from it, and just give it up, man, because Christ is so much better. Thank you.